Okay, you can still hear me?
Yep.
Sure.
All right. All right. Holy moly. We did it. Um, it's going to be a makeshift today, man. This is unbelievable how this stuff can just goes so awry. Anyway, happy Friday. Hopefully, you guys have a better start here. I was having a great start to the morning. And yeah, this thing has just gone sideways. So somebody save me. Who's having a better Friday morning than I am? What do you got?
I got to share how ChatGPT saved me from getting food poisoning this morning.
All right, let's do it.
So I'm trying to take in an obnoxious amount of protein every day, and one of the hacks is 100% liquid egg whites. And on the side of the carton, it says protein smoothies. And I was like, that's weird. So I went into ChatGPT and I'm like, hey, I'm staring at a carton of Bob Evans 100% liquid egg whites. Is it okay to eat these, drink these raw? And it, basically says, yes, it's pasteurized, better to cook them. There's a couple, like the protein's not going to get absorbed as well. But then it says, and by the way, if you have a code of whatever on the carton, there's been a recall because it's been contaminated with bleach. And sure as shit, I look at the code and it matched. So Walmart did not pull it off its shelves for whatever reason. So just big thanks to ChatGPT for giving me a heads up that I was about to consume egg whites with bleach.
Well, awesome save.
And because I use Walmart delivery, I already got refunded they're really good about refunding stuff. So if you're not using Walmart delivery, it's pretty awesome. So already got my refund, but I did not gain back the cheddar cheese on my omelet that I made this morning. So maybe I'll ask for that
Adam, you
back
had a
too.
good save, but you lost out on a good payday.
Yeah, you're right. So it's funny because I was actually watching I don't know, with TikTok, one of those, and it was talking about how Walmart's obviously one of the biggest stores and how bananas are the number one item sold year after year after year at Walmart, interestingly enough. So all roads lead to Walmart.
And anybody else have any other chat GPT saves? I just find I am just using it for, more ridiculous things day after day. And it continues to impress on what it can do, how fast it can do it, how it can. It is, in my mind, when they talk about creativity, it is the most creative thing that is going in the world right now. How creative it can be. Anybody else have any other, whether you're using it for personal or business? I mean, it's such a powerful tool. I really think we should spend some time on it. Go ahead, Alex.
What's funny is like with ChatGPT, I do use it for a lot of personal stuff, a lot of business stuff. But then I ran into an issue where my car stalled a couple times, and I just kind of it was so interesting because I gave it my make, my model, my year, my everything about it. I explained the situation as if I'm talking to a technician. I even wrote down, pretend to be my technician about X, Y, and Z problem happening, and it quite literally diagnosed everything to the point where I switched out a simple part that I didn't have to go to a mechanic for. And it's just been amazing. It's been a game changer, and it really revolutionized how efficient life is running. So that's just outside of the real estate part.
Yeah. Anybody else want to share? I think there's so many use cases that if you don't hear about the use cases, I think you won't even realize them. But there's a lot out there. Who else has got something? How are you using it? Hope you guys are using it.
I'd be curious if Google, I always thought Google's never going to go away. And other than Google still being my default browser, it's pretty rare I even Google anything anymore. And I'm just curious if anyone's seen any articles and how they're reacting, because I got to imagine, I mean, they have a whole ads platform. Obviously, they make a lot of money sponsoring things. And if everyone's going to ChatGPT where there's currently no ad, I don't know, just kind of an interesting
Well, I mean, they're
concept, I
really
guess.
their response is to push Gemini, but unfortunately, I mean, if you hear anybody talk AI, the first thing that they're going to talk about is ChatGPT. First to market was a big deal for this one. So they've really got that brand. and whether Gemini is better or not, unfortunately, when you've missed and you're so far behind, I don't know. It's going to be a tough game for them to come back with. I did see what Zuckerberg is trying to do with Facebook, which is basically their vision of the future with AI, is that you no longer need a marketing agency to run your ads. You will go to their ad platform, you will tell it what you want to run, who your target demo is, how much money you can spend, and it'll just generate everything for you the most efficiently that it possibly can. So are you still going to use marketing agencies? Maybe, and maybe it's for larger scale or strategy thinking initially. Um, but that's pretty interesting because I mean, if you get really good with ChatGPT, you can get some good copy, you can get some good imaging. If you use their AI to then figure out who are the best people to run this to, because obviously the biggest thing about marketing is, you got a billboard, 90% of the people that drive by your billboard, it wasn't meant for. If you could run, if you could log into Facebook and say, hey, this is who I want to hit, this is what the messaging should be, this is what I'm trying to convert them at, and it just does all of that for you and just delivers you the person. I think that's the world that we're moving into. I don't know if anybody's tried their platform recently for ads, but I know that is the direction they're trying to move. Anybody done any Facebook ads recently? Used the platform at all?
Yeah, I mean, I have. In reality, I used to do lead gen for agencies, so brokerages and real estate agencies. And it used to be so difficult in the past. And that's why people would come to me nowadays. Like when I run my own real estate ads, it's literally at a click of a button. You go through a few things. The worst case scenario is you have to mark off the fact that it's for housing. But other than that, it's so user friendly and so easy that realistically agents should be using this for open houses, for marketing purposes, for new listings. You can't screw it up. And this has been something that was like a change lately that they made this so easy.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what Mark's positioning was, is we're going to make it so that you can't screw it up. It'll even have safeguards. It'll ask you an additional question. Is this really what you meant? Is this really how you wanted to do it? So I think you guys should try and see what kind of results that you get. Well, we are on a Finance Friday. I see Dan is on with us. Dan, what do you got, man? What's going on in the finance world?
Hey, good morning, everybody. Yeah, finance wise, we've been rocking and rolling. We've had a actually really good week between Eric and I. Pumped out a lot of pre-approvals for you guys. A couple deals under contract. One scenario we had this week, I think we might have talked about this before on this meeting, but was like doing like a cash loan or like a bridge loan for somebody, which we put one of those together this week with Bashar. Yeah, so he basically kind of came to me and he has a client with a house to sell, not quite ready to sell yet, not on the market, but has like no mortgage on the place, so a ton of equity worth like 700K, and he's downsizing to a condo for like 400 and change. I think it ended up being like 420,000. Ended up being like the new purchase price. Had 100,000 liquid, but that was it. And wanted to really be able to kind of move quickly and do everything without having to have his home sale contingent, as part of the transaction. So I talked to the client and basically, found out that he did have, about 100,000 liquid to be able to use. And so we're just going to put together like a short-term loan for him. A 3-month loan, we'll usually write that as. It could be extended if they need to. But basically, we'll just the money he needs in our loan in full, and then he'll be back being free and clear. And I mean, he'll have at that point a couple extra $100,000 in the bank too from the sale of his house. So So that's a good scenario. It's helpful to be able to kind of put together a product like that. From our end too, it's really simple. As long as the deal makes sense, like it does in this type of scenario, we'll do it with. We're not getting the house appraised. We don't have to get appraisal. We don't have to go through an underwriting process. Basically, we just we get all the borrower's info, make sure he's good for it, and I guess the biggest thing when we do one of these types of product, like a bridge loan, like a short-term private loan, is what is the exit strategy from that loan. In this one, it's pretty simple and clear. He's just got to sell his house, which he owns outright, has a ton of equity there. He's going to sell it and repay it. In some cases, we've done these types of transactions where the exit strategy is ultimately a refinance for the client, and that can be done too. So basically, we give them the bridge loan, get them to the point where they're able to sell that other house, and let's just say he sold that, but he's got a mortgage with us for $400K, and let's say he only gets two and change out of it, and he doesn't quite have enough. We can give him at that point a 30-year fixed traditional mortgage, a conventional loan for say the 150, and he'd pay the 250 off to make up the whole 400, if that were the case. But it's big to just make sure that they've got an exit strategy, because it is a short-term loan, so there is that risk in it. But as long as we do our due diligence and we communicate that with the buyer, it is a great program to be able to have.
Anybody have any questions for Dan on those? Anybody else done one and ran into some sort of an issue that you just want to share? All right, another topic that I
Yeah,
had.
it's not that common. I'd say, for every 100. I'm sorry, go ahead, Steve.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's not very common. I'd say, for every 100-something loans I do, we'll do one of these, private bridge loans in there for the, the right scenario. But that's why you don't see them every day.
The other scenario that I was talking with an agent about, and I think it's important for us to discuss here, is when we're getting tight on funds towards the closing. And let's say we are within $1,000 of what the buyer needs to get the job done, whether there was some repair that went wrong or something with final walkthrough, and we got $1,000 to try and come up with. And I think, especially when you are newer, I think the knee jerk reaction is, you know what, I'll just take it out of my commission check, I'll credit you, I'll do something like that. And I just want to encourage you guys to continue to step into all of the parties that are involved in a real estate transaction, because I think the next logical step for most agents is that then we get the other agent involved. So we got two agents talking to each other. We're off $1,000. Hey, can you cut your commission by 500? I'll cut my commission by 500. We can make this deal happen. Um, I think you got to go to the attorney that's making some money on the deal. You got to go to the lender that's making some money on the deal. Everybody should be chipping in on these situations if we're getting tight and we're getting close to the finish line. Um, maybe it's not proportionate if the commission is, a little bit more than what the attorney is making or the lender is making or whatever. But the reality is, I think agents need to get more parties involved, including the buyer and the seller. Right? If we're off $1,000, can the buyer come up with 250? Seller comes down 250. Agents each chip in 250. Right? If it's 1,500, could we get another 250 from the lender and 250 from the attorney? So get creative with these. And I don't know if anybody else wants to speak to this, but I think agents sometimes are just too quick to just not try and make those connections, have the conversations, and keep a little bit more money in your pocket. I know the commission checks are large, but what everybody else doesn't understand, and that we understand in our industry, is obviously I've got 40 other clients that I've showed houses to that I never made a nickel. So anybody else want to kind of chat on this or expand on what I'm saying or what you've done to get creative?
Yeah, I mean, from the lender side, like all the time, we're willing to do that and try to chip in, whether it's, you know, trying to get them a credit from us as a lender, or lowering one of our fees, or, you know, we have Rovi rewards that can definitely step in and help with that situation, where we'll look to get you guys up to 1%, to help to cover any shortage. Or, you know, another scenario, was it Gavin had talked, was talking to me last night or the night before, just trying to come to terms on getting an offer accepted. You know, so your examples at the end of the transaction, hey, we got to come up with $1,000. You know, at the beginning, he's trying to get his offer accepted. They're not really willing to budge. They might not be willing to pay the full 2.5% that he wants to get paid, and accept the price that they want to offer. So he called me and it was like, hey man, can we, you know, this is my situation. Can we try to maybe work in, you know, a Rovi reward with this, and, you know, see if, you know, if it comes down to it, to get this deal done, you know, can you guys help me get that extra 1% if I can't get it from the seller? And I said, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so get the other parties involved, guys. Anybody have a scenario where we're able to split it multiple ways, or maybe something that I didn't even cover in a way you got somebody to pitch in? And the reality is, you know, the buyer and the seller typically want to move forward, you know, and so sometimes time can fix this. Sometimes just talking to all the parties can fix this. Um, but it is something that you should be skilled in this, and you should be talking to multiple different parties to try and come up with a resolution. All right, we got a few minutes left. Who else has got something going on a deal? Who's got something maybe coming up this weekend that you're a little unsure of, that we might be able to dissect? What do
I've
we
got a
got?
fun one to share. That
Let's
was
do it.
that a new scenario that Eric and I came across this week, specifically through RI Housing, but I think it actually would apply to any program that has income limits that's based on your household size. So in Rhode Island, through RI Housing, you know, they've got two programs, 15 and 20,000. The 15,000's better terms, but there's an income limit, and they keep changing them, but it's like right about 100 and I want to say 37,000 and change for a 2-person household, and then it goes up to like 160,000 for a 3 or more person household. And in this case, we've got a husband and wife. Wife is pregnant. Due date is shortly after our closing date, and we are able to count that unborn child as the third household member, to allow them to be within the income limit and get them that better down payment assistance program. We reached right out to RI Housing with the scenario, and they were like, "Yeah, we've confirmed that this would be acceptable." So that was a cool one. I'd never really had that had that come up before.
Well, you heard it here. We are pro bringing up the contributions to our world. I know we are struggling right now to reproduce as a nation. We are under, or I think we're at our lowest number ever, where we're not replacing ourselves. And in, I don't know, they're saying some crazy numbers that the population could be like half in like the next 50 years or something ridiculous. Don't quote me on that, but it's something insane that the population can really severely drop here based on our replacement right now. So let's encourage people to reproduce so that we can get them
At
into
least
housing.
housing will go down.
Maybe. I don't think that's going to happen in the next year or two when we need it to happen, Mari.
Hmm.
All right, time for one last thing. Who's got something? Great share, Dan. Who's got something funky going on a deal? Stacy.
I had something funny happen this morning. Wasn't loan related, but it was dishwasher related. And the new buyers don't want the dishwasher in there. My sellers refused to remove it. So I just paid someone $200 to put it out on the street in Boston and have the city pick it up. So that was my good deed.
So this is one of those that's not like built in. It's kind of at the end of the counter, Stacy.
No, it was built in. It was just it had leaked before, so the buyers didn't want it. And I said, sure, we'll figure something out. So I sort of, we always have to watch our words when we're walking through with someone else's clients. And because I said we'll figure it out, which I figure everything out always. But then it came to the final day and we hadn't addressed it again. They said, Stacy said that would be gone. And I said, well, I said we would figure it out. So I went to the sellers and I said, what do we do? And she said, oh, my brother's not available. We can't. And we're closing today. And so I called the city and they said, sure, have it out on the street and we'll pick it up. So I just called a random handyman, met him there, and he pulled it out. Well, no damage. Like he got it out safely. But yeah, it cost me $200.
Well, I think, well, one, great job being resourceful to get this thing done. But two, the importance of what we're saying when we're around, clients or the other party, right? So this is probably a lesson learned. We'll be maybe a little bit more careful with your words moving forward. So this is a really good share, and I appreciate you kind of being a little vulnerable here and sharing this one with the groups. I think it's a good lesson because it could have been something more expensive for sure. Luckily, it costs you a couple $100, but if you slip up and say, something on a larger item, it could get interesting. So it's a great share. And I guess to that fact, verbal, don't accept anything that the other side tells you they are going to do. Anything that they say they're going to do, no matter how small, at least get a text message or an email. Ideally, we want signed addendums, repair requests, etc. But please don't take anybody's word for anything in this business. Get it in writing. You know, in theory, Stacy could have on this say, "Hey, that's not what I meant. That's not what I said." The other side wouldn't have really had anything to lean on. Um, luckily we've just got a good ethical agent here who just is doing the right thing. Doing the right thing is always the right thing. So appreciate you, Stacy. Great share. Anybody else? Who else has got a good deed that they did? How about another example of just doing the right thing? I'll just share a final story. When we're trying to get rid of stuff, uh, take advantage of social, take advantage of the marketplaces. We had a trampoline in the backyard that was actually served my kids phenomenally for, geez, I feel like 5, 6 years. It was getting a little ratty. I went onto Amazon. I was able to find they actually sell replacement netting and replacement padding because that's really all this needed. And my kids, at the end of the day, we decided we weren't going to do it. I was just going to disassemble it and throw it away. But instead, I just put a post up, free, here's the link to get the netting, here's the link to get the pad, and it was gone in 24 hours. So I think a lot of times, we might be able to get rid of stuff for our clients using social media, using these free marketplaces, obviously with the client's consent. But I don't know that you're going to get anybody to come take that dishwasher. But yeah, Martin. Oh, you're muted, bud.
So yeah,
There you
there you
go.
go. So if you put it for free, it's amazing. People will grab it. When we bought our house, we had a bunch of bushes, and I'm lazy, and I didn't want to pull out these bushes. So I put it. This was back when it was Craigslist, and I put on Craigslist free bushes. And my wife's like, "No one's gonna take your effing bushes. You're stupid." They were gone the following weekend, and all it cost me was a couple of bottles of water because it was a hot day and I felt bad for them.
So what
Like,
what what was the use? They were gonna like rip them out and like replant them, or how did they end up?
yep,
Yeah, yeah.
yep. And as far as like appliances, if you put free appliances, people will just grab that for scrap metal. Just FYI.
Anybody else have any other shares regarding getting rid of stuff, or hey, this is a weird one, people grabbed it? A lot of times like that heavy furniture. I think we were talking about. I think Chris the other week or two ago had that dresser. Who knows? Who knows if we can get on top of this stuff early you know, get pictures, get it out on the internet. We might be able to get this stuff taken care of for free. Adam, I see you're unmuted.
Yeah, I was just going to tell
There's
Martin he
nothing,
went one
just so
step.
you guys know, there's nothing better that the host likes than to see somebody unmute their mic. You don't even have to raise your hand. I can see these, and it brings me joy. So,
I was going to say Martin went one step too far. I was following a guy in one of my investment groups, and he had bought a flip with ferns, and he's like, every time I take these ferns out, they like he would just cut them down. Every time I cut them down, they grow back, you know, bigger and thicker. So the next house he bought with ferns, he just posted free ferns, and and he posted a picture 48 hours later. People literally came and dug out the ferns and took them. So I don't know what it is about ferns. I don't know if they're expensive or not, but you know, you might not even have to dig out the bushes next time.
Oh, I didn't dig them out. They came and dug them out themselves. I did
Oh, they did?
zero work. I did zero work. Like I said, I just gave them a bottle of water because it was a hot day. I'm like, here you go.
Oh, geez.
So like I
That's
said, Jamie, dig them
fantastic.
up.
That's awesome.
and one person's trash is another person's treasure. So, well, hopefully we learned a little something today. This was a fun call after my technical difficulties this morning. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys did. Go crush your weekends. Take some notes on the craziness that happens in your real estate world, and let's come back and talk about it on Monday morning. Take care, guys.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.